Hello everybody from Melinda's Rubber Room. I am Melinda Pierce and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I welcome you today to my rubber room to show you how to make this card. This is a card that I recently showed in a weekly Zoom session that I offer. This section here actually opens up and you can actually fit a gift card right inside that little flap, and then when you close it, it fits right inside that little section here. So it kind of hides away. The products that I'm using today are from the new Stampin' Up! Catalog. The stamp set is from hand-penned petals. It's a beautiful set, also has coordinating dies with it. It is meant to be a two-step stamp where these images here will stamp right over these to create the color. Today I'm actually going to be using the blends to color those in. And then I'm also using the paper from Hand Penned Designer Series paper, and that is this set here. Has beautiful pastel floral images in it, and the back sides are kind of a neutral design, so they kind of go with everything. Definitely worth checking out. I think I showed this in a previous video. Beautiful, beautiful paper. I actually got 2 sets of that paper because it is so pretty and I plan to use it a lot. So, okay, so I'm going to point you down onto my work surface and show you how to make this card. All right, so as I said, I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can access my online store at www.melindapierce.stampinup.net. And if you are not familiar with Melinda's Rubber Room, which is my Facebook page, you can access me at www.facebook.com/Melinda's Rubber Room. I do offer weekly Zoom sessions. I'm going to be taking a short break this coming week and next week, but then I will be back to my normal schedule. And during those Zoom sessions, I do show a featured card, which this one happens to be one of. So the intent for the Zoom sessions is to make the featured card together. So I provide all of the measurements ahead of time, and then we go through and I show you how to make the card. If we do have extra time, which we usually do, we just kind of create on our own, make our own cards. If you want to, you can make 2 of the featured card if you want. That's entirely up to you. And you do not need to use Stampin' Up! Products during my Zoom sessions. You're welcome to use anything that you have. So you can easily adapt my cards to products that you already have. Okay, so we are going to start with the base of our card. So all of the measurements are right over here. Hopefully you can zoom in on those if you need to, but I will go over them really quickly. So these measurements here are all the same color cardstock, and it's all going to be the same as your base cardstock. So your base measures 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored at 4 1/4. So that's the base of your card. And then you have the flap that goes on the inside, and I'm calling this section here the flap. And that measures 5.5 by 2.5. And then you have a 1/2 inch score line running along the long edge. Okay, so you're going to put that into your scoreboard or your cutter, and along this long edge, you're going to measure a 1/2 inch in and score down. Okay, and then for the insert, you're going to start with 6 3/4 inch by 4.5 inch, and you're going to score it along the top. You're going to score it at 3/4 inch, 3.5 inches, 3 3/4 inches, and 4 inches. So these 3 score lines right here are really close together. Don't worry about it. It's only a 1/2 inch apart from each other, but that's exactly what you need. Okay, so we are going to start by reinforcing our folds, and that simply means taking your bone folder and running it right along the edge. And you want to do this because the card does have quite a few layers on it, and you want your folds to be nice and crisp, partly to cut down on the bulk of the card, but also to allow your card to open and close easily. Okay, so this is just my little flap piece, and I just scored on that 1/2 inch line. Then we're going to take our insert piece, going to score on the 3/4 inch line. And then we're actually just going to fold it in half. So you're not going to worry about those two other score lines on this, on either side of the center. Just going to score it in half like that. So this should actually open so that this edge here is the same height as that fold line. Sorry, I didn't realize I was out of the camera. So this is the 1/2 inch score line, and then we folded it in half and scored it, and then this edge here should correspond with this edge here, the folded edge. Okay, now we're going to take this and we're just going to kind of pinch along those other two score lines that are 1/4 inch away from the center, and we're just going to fold them back. I'm pinching it right in the center and pulling those back. Okay, so then it should kind of look like half of an airplane, paper airplane. Okay, and then we're just going to take a little bit of glue and put it right down that center. If I can locate my glue. This one doesn't feel like it has much in it. Doesn't seem like any of mine have much in it right now. Let me just use tape. I would definitely suggest using Tombow glue, just because it's going to use a lot of pressure opening and closing this centerpiece here. So I'll probably have to go back and re-glue that. Okay, so then you're just going to pinch that closed. I'm going to reinforce that again. Okay, so then this will open up just like so. Okay, so now we're going to take the base of our card, and with your little folded flap, you're going to attach that to your card. So the fold of your flap is going to the back of your card. I'm just going to match up the edge of my card to the inside of that fold. Like so. Run my bone folder along to make sure it gets adhered nice and tight. I'm just going to put a little bit of tape here on the edges. Now, if you're doing this with glue, just make a really fine line of glue right along the edges, and that'll give you a little bit more wiggle room in between to put your insert. Again, just making sure my tape is nice and tight on there so it doesn't lift up, hopefully. Now this piece here gets attached with this flap married up to this center line. So it's going to be attached just like so. So this flap here, this edge here is facing towards your inside flap. And then this center crease here is lifting up, and this edge here is towards the front of your card. So you want to make sure that this flap here is attached to the left-hand side of your center score line. You want it on the opposite side of your flap that you just attached. So if you want to make sure that this is all centered up, you can measure the center of this section here and the center of your card and make little marks on your card to make sure it's nice and centered. This time I just kind of eyeballed it. I think that's about right. And then this insert is going to fit right underneath. You have to kind of play with it at the beginning, just kind of fold it back a little bit so that it gets in there. And then just kind of push it closed. Like I said, you kind of have to play with it at the first few times, but it will close up, just like so. And then it opens up. All right, so all we have to do next is decorate it. Let me just get this back in there so I can have my card front available. Okay, so then we're going to bring in the designer series paper, and the front piece is going to measure 4 inches wide and 5 1/4 inches high. I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Ooh, that's a pretty side too. So pretty. Stampin' Up! Makes it difficult to decide which side you want to use. You make such pretty paper on both sides. Okay, so this is just going to be centered. And then we have 3 pieces that measure 2 1/4 by 4 1/4. So that's these 3 pieces. And I need to decide which is going up and which is going down. Okay. And that is going to be used to decorate your inside flap. So this one is actually kind of centered in between the score lines, the second score lines, and the outside edge. And then these are just centered on your panels. And then you have one more piece that measures 1 3/4 wide by 5 1/4 high. And I am actually going to incorporate that other pretty side of the paper right there. Kind of an unexpected surprise there. And this is Highland Heather cardstock that I'm using. And you can see that the designer series paper coordinates so well with it. That is actually because I looked at the back of the designer series paper, and it tells you exactly what colors to use that are in the cards that are in the designer series paper itself. So it makes it really easy to make coordinated cards because Stampin' Up! Calls out those colors for you. Now, because I used the wider tape instead of the glue, my card on the inside is kind of catching on those edges. That's why it's having trouble closing. Okay, so I did a die cut image, and then I have another, I have a stamped image from that same hand pen petals stamp set. And I'm going to, and I stamped it and die cut it, and now I'm going to color it in. So I wanted to do a little bit of a tutorial on how to use your blends. So all I'm doing is I'm using the Highland Heather light Stampin' Blends, and I'm just kind of going around the image kind of quickly. Don't worry if there's a little bit of white showing. That actually helps with the whole process. It just kind of gives it a little bit of kind of dimension and interest if it's not colored in solid. There are some nice images that are colored in solid with Stampin' Blends too, so there's definitely more than one way to use your Stampin' Blends. But I'm just very lightly touching the cardstock with my pen, and you can see that there's still some white showing there. which is fine. Stampin' Up! Also offers a color lifter, so if you want an even lighter color than the light blends, you can use that to lift some of the color up as well. Okay, so now I'm going in with my darker Highland Heather, and I'm just adding just some sporadic little darkness to the bottom of the petals. And then on this little flower, Stampin' Up! Has provided some little shading lines, so I'm just lightly going over those. I think I'm going to go in the center as well. So now I'm going to go back with my light. You can kind of see that, I hope I was in camera for all that. You can see that the light and the dark is kind of abruptly colored. You can see the distinction between those colors. So what I'm going to do now is go over again with the light, and that will help blend those colors in. And I'm just kind of going like in a circular motion. You don't really want any straight lines. And that one I didn't have any dark on it. If you take your light blend and just go over the light color again, that also gives you a slightly different color. So you just kind of have to play around with it and experiment. Okay, so that still looks like it's kind of harsh lines in between the colors, but as the colors dry, they will kind of blend together and get a little bit lighter. So I'm going to go in now with mint macaron. Just add some green. And I'm going in with the light first. These brushes do have two tips to them. I tend to use the brush tip. You have quite a bit of control over it, but on some of these smaller areas like the stems, you might want to use the fine tip pen edge. Okay, and now I'm going in with the darker color. I actually did those backwards. I did the dark first. So I'm just going in with the dark again, just to kind of create a little bit of darkness right there on the edges, on those shading lines. All right, so you can kind of see how the Highland Heather started to blend a little bit more. Doesn't look quite as defined as before. And then you can see the detail on the leaves as well, with the darker coloring along those hash lines. Okay, so I hope that helped some of the unknowns about the blends and how they work. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this colored image to our little die cut image. The paper is so gorgeous and kind of busy with a lot of small print, so you kind of have to separate it by having another image on top before you put a detailed image on top. You can't really put this directly onto the paper. I think it would just look a little too busy. So by separating it with a little bit of designer's cardstock, then you can kind of differentiate between the designer series paper and your individual image. So I'm going to go ahead and add some dimensions to that to raise it all up. Again, I'll take a pick tool and get those pieces off the edges. Raise that up. And I wanted some of the purple to show on here, so that's why I'm kind of putting this floral image on the right hand side instead of on the center like I did with this one. So now I have a little bit more blue or purple showing there. And then I have my stamped happy birthday with that I die cut out. I'm going to raise that up again with dimensionals. And that happy birthday and the die is from the what set is that from? It's from the art gallery set. So it has all these great sayings, and then it has two little dies that I use a ton. This long one here, which I use for happy birthday, and then this one here for smaller words like good luck and hello and things like that. So another great set to check out. If you ever have any questions about the products that I use, just shoot me a message, and I would be happy to help you out to find those in the catalog and get them on order for you. Okay, that's going to go like that. And then on the inside, if you have a piece of white cardstock measuring 3 by 5 1/4, that can go right here. And I'm just going to stamp a birthday message on here. And this is the sentiment set that I'm using. Another new set that is in the catalog. Great stamp set for large words. I'm using this one here. It says, hoping your birthday is filled with all the best things. But I love all these large sayings that this set has. Again, that's called Sunny Sentiments. So I'm just going to stamp this, hopefully straight, on using the Highland Heather stamp pad. And we're going to just adhere that to the inside. So now you have a place to sign your card. All right, so there's my card, all ready for gifting to a friend with a gift card inside. There we go. All right, hope you enjoyed that video tutorial, and hopefully you learned something new, whether it's how to color with the blends or how to make the card. That is always my motivation for making these videos, is to show you something new, and hopefully you can learn something. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on this YouTube channel, or if you would like to visit me on my Facebook page at Melinda Pierce. At www.facebook.com/Melinda's Rubber Room. You can message me there, as well as keep up with all the things that are going on in my stamp studio, whether it's making samples or card classes that I have going on, card classes in the mail or Zoom classes, or now in-person classes. If you live in the Santa Barbara area, I would be happy to have you join me. All right, that is all for now. Hope you have a great day, and until next time, stay safe. Bye-bye.